Hello, members of the Nashville AGO. My name is Uso Kang. I'm your dean for the season of 2021 to 2022. I'm very excited to welcome you to our very first virtual organ crawl. I think we all have experienced a lot of hardship during the pandemic, but I think one of the positive things that came out from it is the use of our technology. And Nashville is such an area that we have wonderful towns that is maybe a little too far to drive as a group and experience great organs they actually have got to offer. So our program committee came up with an idea that every year we can actually record a virtual organ crawl that we can all enjoy. So this year we are actually offering 2 organs from Clarksville, Madison Street United Methodist and also Grace Lutheran Church. We are very thankful for Jared Wilson and Jonathan Rudy working with us on this wonderful project. Our vision was to have a member of our chapter travel and also play a piece of music while our organists of those 2 churches demonstrate the wonderful organs that they actually have, and this will become also an archival video that we can all share and enjoy for our chapter as well. So our very first virtual organ crawl, welcome. I hope you enjoy.
My name is Pastor Larry Peters, and I've been pastor of Grace Lutheran Church for going on 30 years. When I came to this congregation, we had a small building, an A-frame, and a rather tired Rogers, and we had no organist. So part of the journey of those years has been to find someone to serve as organist and also to look at the expansion of our facilities as well as the improvement of the organ situation. As someone who's been to a Lutheran church knows, we don't just sing a hymn here or there. We sing from the moment you get to church until the moment you leave. So an organ is not just a piece of furniture that you can use. It's part of the essential character of what happens here on Sunday morning. And in some respects, the organ represents the breath of the congregation, not only in terms of the music that they hear, but also as the instrument that leads their praises. So along the way, we went through a few people until finally we hired what turned out to be one of the best decisions we've ever made. Rocky Kraft became our organist and then our cantor, and was in charge of not only the music program, but also was the guiding light and the person who led us to the instrument that you'll be hearing in just a few moments. Along the way, when we were building this building, we made provision for a pipe organ, but at one point in time, we weren't sure whether there would be anything more than about 2.5 ranks of pipes and a Rogers combination electronic console. But along the way, we looked at a new instrument to realize that due to cost overruns in the building, that was beyond our budget. So we started looking at some used instruments that were for sale, either from churches that were closing or from congregations that were purchasing a new instrument. And again, there was a journey through places from New Jersey to Cincinnati to finally Gainesville, Florida. And in that instrument, we found not only an instrument that could be suitable for our use, but also something that would fit in the space that we had allotted for a pipe organ. Along the way, as anybody knows who's done anything in building, you are constantly living within the constraints of budget. And you will not believe, but we actually paid $17,000 for this 60-some rank pipe organ you'll hear about a little bit later on. Of course, it cost us a little something, some goodwill with a group of men who delighted in rescuing theater organs, and they packed it up and moved it from Gainesville, Florida to Clarksville, Tennessee, where it sat in moving and storage at one of our members' businesses until the building was built, and then the congregation took their part in laying out some of the several thousand pipes on the floor here so that the organ builder could try and figure out how to reassemble the puzzle. Along the way, we decided to make a few changes, and you may hear about those in terms of some ranks that had been mitered in their original installation that were restored to full-length pipes here, as well as moving a few ranks around from where they had been in the previous installation. But what it has proven to be is a wonderful instrument that has enlivened not only the life of the church, but also provided a musical center for the congregation that expanded into a choral program, really a very distinctive choral program that has sung many works, large works with orchestral accompaniment, and also provided the impetus for a Music at Grace concert series that now is going into its 20th year. So without further ado, I'll turn you over to our cantor of many years, 22 years, cantor emeritus, Rocky Kraft.
Hi, I'm Rocky Kraft, and with the 22 years that I served here at Grace Lutheran, a good many of those have been with this wonderful instrument. Let me give you a little history. In 1954, a sconce was installed in First Presbyterian Church in Gainesville. By 1974, a retired president of the Aeolian Skinner Company was a member of First Presbyterian in Gainesville, and the organist then and John Terrell decided that they could expand the size of a 15-rank sconce. They had no longer been able to work at Aeolian Skinner because the shop closed, and therefore they bought all of the chests and pipe work from Cassavant, a Canadian firm. They added two other former members of Aeolian Skinner, Alan Kinsey and Dan Angerstein. Well, push this on up to 1997, and you find that the organist then wanted a new organ, just like wanting a new car, I guess. They decided to sell this organ, and they advertised it in the Diapason, a well-known organ magazine with want ads in the back. I saw it. I immediately told the pastor about it, and he said, "When can you get to Gainesville?" And I said, "Well, if somebody will pay my plane ticket, I'll go down." And I did. And I found this organ. It needed some work for sure, but it was exactly what I was looking for. And then I reported back to pastor, and he said, "I think that sounds like a winner." Through some negotiations, we'll call it, we were able to get this organ at an unbelievable price that pastors just told you about. And then the company, the men who were theater organists, who a friend of mine knew, decided that they wanted to go down and help us by packing up the organ in Gainesville, putting it on trucks and vans, and getting it here to Clarksville. One thing that did get left out of that little scenario was they did get a ticket on the way back. But the organ was packed and laid in storage for about 2 years. Between two new electronic ranks for the 32-foot in the pedal and a new case, which you'll be able to see here in just a minute. The case mimics kinda mimics the organ in Gainesville. This, with the 16-foot principals, we now have a 35-foot wide facade and a 20-foot high on the pedal principal pipes. The voicing remains within the American classic, school, and the Aeolian Skinner tradition. It now has 61 ranks, and there is possibilities of adding 4 more. And at this point, I'll turn it over to Jonathan Rudy.
So we'll give you a chance to hear some of the wonderful sounds of the organ, some favorite sounds that I have. The organ is divided into 4 different divisions, plus the pedals. It has the grate and the positif, of course. The positif is high up on the instrument, as you'll see in the facade. The grate is at the bottom level of the facade, and then to the left are the swell chambers. We actually have 2 different divisions within the swell. The swell 2 is double enclosed within the swell 1 box, which leads to some very nice expressive possibilities. The reason, of course, for that is when we put in the instrument in 2002 and 2001, the organ in Gainesville, Florida had an antiphonal division. And when we brought it here to be installed, it was decided that rather than using it as an antiphonal, we would put it within the swell 1 chambers, and I think you'll hear some really nice sounds. For example, let me demonstrate this. We have a high pressure reed, the trumpet harmonique, which is in the swell 2 chamber. When it's open, it's very loud, but I want you to hear how much the sound actually closes off. So I'm going to begin by closing the swell 1 box, which is just the regular box for the entire swell and regular swell shades, but then I will also close off the shades for the swell 2 division once I do that. So. Of course, on the swell, we also have a wonderful accompaniment of extra and lovely reeds as well. In the swell 1, we have a trumpet as well as an oboe. The oboe is extended at the 4 and 16-foot levels as a clairon and a fagot. You can hear these here. Here's the oboe. That sounds really lovely. On the swell, we've actually left room for a very special rank of pipes, which we have and are awaiting to be installed. We have a Vox Humana rank that we're looking forward to installing in the near future. We certainly hope so. That'll be a wonderful accompaniment for everything we already have there. On the grate, we have a lovely principal chorus. The principal choruses are all very nice. One of the priorities, as Pastor Peters was talking about when we brought the instrument here, was to have an instrument that would be clear for singing and leading the song of the congregation. And so it was important that we found an instrument that had a clear principal chorus, and I think you'll hear that quality here. Here's just the 8-foot principal on the grate. Mixtures on the grate as well that completes the crown of the principal chorus. Of course, we use those a little little bit sparingly in this room. Those mixtures were designed for the instrument in Florida, which had a less desirable acoustical setting than we have here. So those mixtures really fly in this room. So we often use the mixture instead from the swell to blend a little better with the chorus. But here's a sense of that principal chorus all together with the rest of the organ. Trumpet. For the finishing touch, I think we'll go ahead and add the trumpet en chamade, which can be played on either the great or the positif.
My name is Peter Rogan, and I'm the organist at First Presbyterian Church of Nashville, Tennessee, and I am delighted to play on this organ here at Grace Lutheran Church. I'm also Lutheran myself, so in choosing some of the pieces for today, I couldn't help myself but play some Bach at a Lutheran church. I thought that'd be appropriate. So I'll be playing the Fantasy from the Fantasy and Fugue in G minor by Johann Sebastian Bach, BWV 542. And I thought I would show off some of the principal choruses that are in this instrument. So you'll hear sort of the larger great chorus of 8/4/2 principals coupled in with the swell mixture and some principal stops there. And then in the quieter section, I'm going to switch down to the positif and play some of the softer principals there. And so here is the Bach. the second piece that I'll play comes from the second movement of Guillemot's first sonata for organ in D minor. And this organ has a lot of beautiful solo colors. Jonathan demonstrated the crumb horn, which I'll be using. I'll also be using the oboe, which kind of has a much creamier and smoother sound than the than the crumb horn. And then I'll also use the strings in the middle section, and then also the wide variety of flutes that we have. So here is the second movement from Guillemot's first sonata.
Hello, Nashville AGO friends. Welcome to the Mother Church of Methodism in Clarksville. The first Methodist organization in this area was chartered in 1787, just 3 years after the organization of the denomination in the United States. And through several different church buildings in several different locations across the city, the ancestors of these first Methodists eventually settled here at the corner of Hyder and Madison Streets, officially chartering Madison Street United Methodist Church in 1882. And since that time, Madison Street has been woven into the fabric of the Clarksville community. In 1999, Madison Street was in the direct path of a tornado that devastated much of the historic downtown Clarksville area. The majority of the Madison Street facility was a complete loss, including its sanctuary and its 1893 Jardine organ. The pipes that you'll see here in a minute are 3 of a mere handful that were recovered relatively unscathed from the wreckage. The Jardine organ was thought to be the last organ built by the Jardine Company, and although it was no longer in its original state, having been rebuilt several times in its 100 years of service, it was loved and cherished by this congregation. Sadly, there was not enough remaining of the Jardine organ to be worthy of consideration for the foundation of the church's new organ. And so during Madison Street's 3-year process of rebuilding, an organ committee made up of church musicians and staff and members of the building committee selected the Rieger Claus Organ Company, headquartered in the Czech Republic, to build the new organ. Rieger Claus is one of Europe's oldest builders of pipe organs, having been incorporated since 1873. However, the Rieger brothers were building organs as early as the 1840s. They are unique in the industry in that they have a college of organ building, which offers a 4-year accredited and degreed course of study. The school enrolls 12 students each year, and if the students remain for all 4 years, they have a maximum of 48 students enrolled. The company works to keep the best and the brightest of these students, and they also furnish a good many of the other major builders in Europe with these young craftsmen. Bill Gray, who is certainly no stranger to the Nashville AGO, set out the organ specification of stops, guided the visual approach, and worked with the church committee, the musicians, and the architects to see the Madison Street organ project through to a successful completion. Mr. Gray worked with Marcel Collars, the Rieger Claus architect, to design an organ case that would include 32-foot pipes in the facade in order to best match the very high ceiling and cubic space of the new sanctuary. Today, the organ case stands 3 stories tall above the choir, positioned on the long axis of the room. It currently includes 53 ranks of pipes over 4 divisions, including 3 complete 32-foot ranks of pipes, a rank of 32-foot open metal pipes in the facade, a rank of 32-foot stopped pipes made of wood, and a rank of 32-foot contra-bombard pipes. The first requirement in the construction of this instrument was to play the liturgy of the church, to accompany great hymn singing, to provide choral accompaniments for voices of all ages, and to inspire the worshiping life of the community of faith. There's not a single voice on the organ that might not be used in a regular worship service, and it is also capable of playing a fabulous organ concert. Mr. Gray worked diligently to create an instrument of distinction at Madison Street, not to copy any other organ, although there are many historical influences. For example, there's a grand choir resonance division, which is greatly inspired by the French School of Organ Building. And in a few moments, you will hear Peter Rogan demonstrate for you some of the reeds and mixtures and tierces, which bring out some of the German influences within the organ. The chief engineer for the instrument was Ulrich Hayek, The wood carving was by Peter Brodak. The tonal finishing was done under the direction of Daniel Angerstein. And there were many others who were part of the building and installation team, each one playing a major role in the success of this wonderful instrument. We hope you enjoy hearing it.
Here at the Rieger Kloss organ, I will be playing two movements from Mendelssohn's First Sonata for organ, Opus 65. And I thought I'd use some of the sounds on here that are kind of rare here in America that you would find on an instrument like this one. In the first piece I'll play, it's the second movement from the sonata, using mostly soft sounds at 8-foot pitch. And there's one particular stop that I'm using that I want to point out, the Erzähler, which is a really nice, quiet, kind of string flute hybrid stop that has a very gentle sound, but also kind of a nice overtone on top of it. And I was going to contrast that with the roar flute in the swell. And then finally, for the last movement, I was just going to demonstrate the really wonderfully rich tutti. In particular, I'm using mixtures and also the tierces that you would find in a German romantic organ. And it really lends a very nice, satisfying plenum sound.